So we can go ahead and start and talk a little. And who got a chance to participate in a little bit of the Chile and Brazil congresses? Yes? So a couple of you? The rest didn't? Not at all? Nothing?
Yeah, Lance did too, but he was away. But
Oh, Lance was there. Yeah, I saw him. So we've been through, we're preparing for next degree in New Jersey in a few days. And this has been coined as one Congress, from Chile to New Jersey. And whole content, everything in preparation was done together. And Chile was phenomenal. And Brazil was awesome. Maybe you guys want to share a couple words about it, or something that really stood out, or maybe questions that you have.
Well, I didn't watch too much of it, but the parts I did watch, it was a question and answer. And they asked Rob, should they be trying to connect with people outside of the group, or say a prayer for them to receive bestowal? And if I got it right, Rob said, who are we to ask for people that are not searching for it? Which I found very eye-opening. I found that very eye-opening. We're not even supposed to ask the prayer.
That would be rape, he called it in Hebrew. Meaning you're basically forcing your desire to them. And in our world, this is, first of all, it's a very provocative statement. If you think about it, I know that every one of us has certain feelings that, hey, it's like there's poor people, there's sad people, there's sick people, there's, people less fortunate. There's all these people that we want to help. We want to, make their life better. In fact, most of us are going through Kabbalah. I think, once we start getting over some of the selfishness of ours, we start to think, oh, we're going to bring light to the world. We're going to, it's like, we're going to start bringing this for them. It's like, this is our job to bring it to the whole world. And yet somehow it feels like, it's like my wife who's sitting at home, who doesn't have a desire to reach the quality of bestowal, who doesn't have that desire, who doesn't have a desire for correction. She has a desire for other things. So maybe good things, bad things. I don't know. I mean, all kinds of things. Why can't I pray for her? Why can't I just, this is not selfish. This is not me asking for me. This is asking for someone else, right? Who remembers a little bit about that? Who wants to discuss that a little bit? Why is it considered coercion if I'm asking for someone for something that he didn't ask for it?
The whole point is to come to it in free will, or it doesn't mean anything. That's what I think. I mean, you got to come to it voluntarily, or what's the point? I mean, if we could just force everybody to do it, it'd be done already.
Okay.
Not only that, but if our desires aren't in alignment, then basically it's a mixed message to God. It just doesn't work. And I think the flip side of that was when Rav brought up having joy in what we know, in being in communication, if you will, with the Creator. It's pretty silly to be sad when we're in that. When we know what we know, we need to be in joy all the time. So I think it's a similar thing.
and prayer has to do with a desire. If there's no desire, there's no will to receive that, and we are a will to receive. If there's no will to receive something, there's no place for that thing there. So I have no business making a prayer for something, for someone who doesn't have a desire for that something that I'm supposedly want to bestow to that person. Kind of putting myself higher than I know what's good for you kind of thing. This is not how it works.
I mean, how do you know? How do you know for someone else what they need or what they want?
I think we need to connect and get closer to them and feel them and be. I think we're trying to learn that through the method, and pleasing the friend is one of the things we're trying to do, is trying to please the friend and their desire, trying to fulfill what they want.
Maybe we know when, like he just said, it's the friends. You see them putting forth the same effort for you, showing up to class, doing the study, so you know that way, by actions. I don't know.
I mean, what are they missing that that they can't do it? I mean, what's the missing component here more than, okay, how do you know what they want? I hope I don't massacre this, but this is basically what Rav drew for us. He basically said this. This is my friend here, okay? And this is me. So what ends up happening is I look for the deficiency, the minus in my friend, right? How do I do that? By incorporating with him, integrating with him, connecting with him, and finding out. And he even did it, he did a very good job at actually even putting it in a way where it's like, I'm looking at a specific person, okay? So Adam is trying to connect with Tom, and what is he trying to do through that? To connect to his point in the heart, right? To connect his point in the heart with the other's point in the heart. So what Adam is doing is actually entering into Tom here, into the one, and we'll call, you call this number one. And once he feels the desire that is in Tom, how much he wants to be in bestowal, how much, not how much he wants to buy a car, or how much he wants to, do something else, but specifically on what we're talking about in the path. If we find that that now, not only does he feel what his friend is lacking, on top of that, he actually incorporates into that feeling, meaning he starts feeling how much he wants to help him get that. Being the second desire here, the second deficiency. And what is done is that you raise this desire into you. You incorporate his desire into you. And now you have two desires, basically. One, how can I fill my friend? And one, how can I reach bestowal? How can I, this desire in the friend? Since it's the right desire, now I can raise this desire as a prayer, as what we call raising man, right? And this prayer goes to the Creator. And because this is the proper form of praying to the Creator, he hears it. And the way he gives it, he gives me back those two. He gives me the feeling that I need to fulfill for my friend and what my deficiency was. This is also, you've heard the saying, one who prays for his friend is answered first. That's exactly what this is. And so this gives back the prayer to his friend. If I don't have this incorporation with my friend here, who has a specific desire for spirituality, and I'm incorporating that deficiency inside of me to the point where it hurts me that he's lacking it, then who exactly am I praying for? I have some person here on the outside somewhere who happens to have a desire that, maybe from my education in this world, it seems like it's something that is worthwhile to ask for. Poor thing, he's hungry, he's sick, he's, I don't know, you name it, right? Lacking. I can't just say, oh, you know what? I feel bad for this guy, so I'm going to raise his prayer up. Who set up this bad state for this person? Who created the bad situation for this person that is not on the path with me?
The Creator.
All right. Who set up this situation here for my friend who's on the path with me?
Say.
The same, the Creator. Right? There's none else besides him. He creates everything. But this deficiency he created specifically for the sake of correction. He did this like that. this thing that I'm seeing as wrong with this other person here, how do I know why the creator did that and what it's supposed to lead him? This is still on the path towards reaching the point in the heart, right? When he reaches a point in the heart and becomes a friend, and I can actually, integrate into his lack, now I have something to work with. Any other cool thing or special thing that you heard in the Congress that you want to discuss maybe with the friends here?
Well, along with that, that when we pray for somebody else, we're basically saying that the Creator is wrong and we're right because we've made that judgment. The Creator sends these deficiencies for us so we can be joyous that He has sent them to us for our correction, because He's giving us a clue.
Mm-hmm. What is it that we're supposed to be joyous of?
That He even cares about us, that He is revealing Himself to us, that He is involved with us, and He is giving us that deficiency that we can correct ourselves.
Anyone else want to add? Why are we supposed to be joyous in the work?
We're supposed to be able to enjoy His bounty, His love for us, His glory of what He's created for us, and we always strive to see that the Creator is always good. And at times, when you're dealing with like double concealment with people, it's like, well, is it are we really, is it really good, but He is, but the breakthrough other people is you can only think of the group and yourself and the force that it creates, and that's all you can do. That's just
right. Anyone else want to add? Why do we need to be joyous in the work? What do we have to be joyous for?
Well, it's just that Rob told the story before about carrying the bag for an important person. So I guess it depends on how important you think the Creator is and how important the goal is. And once you realize you're on a mission, an important mission, it's like camaraderie, bravado. You're happy
Right.
to be on a mission.
Right. We call that the joy of who you're serving, right? I mean, the joy of serving the King. And everything else that's been said, obviously, joy for having the opportunity, joy for having the the possibility to and for being on this path, even though sometimes we don't feel that joyous, right? I mean, we were going back around in the workshop, and we're talking. One of the friends was saying, some people, have a big smile on their face where they're suffering terribly. I mean, their body is suffering immensely. Think about a marathon runner after, 3/4 of the way. Everything hurts. There's no fun in this at all. It's just pain, agony, torment, torture. And he's got this big smile. I can see the end line there. I'm accomplishing something. There's a higher goal here. But if you were to just not know that, you look at him, you're like, oh my God, the poor thing, he's suffering. He's in the, he's exhilarated from this moment. All right, maybe another impression from the Congress, something that stood out? Or a question that you had from the Congress?
Well, what stood out for me is that all of our 10 constantly reminded every single friend on at least three different chats before each workshop, before each gathering. Whatever time it started, there was a notice 3 notices on my phone. And that was a really wonderful thing to have friends that are watching, helping their other friends to connect in that manner. When you get those notifications from your friends, it pulls on your heart. It makes you want to go.
Right? Imagine if you didn't have friends.
Mm. So another point that Rav made was there is no evil in the world, only an opportunity to reach something better. It all teaches us to turn to the Creator. I thought that was quite dynamic.
Why is this statement, there's no evil in the world, so stand out to everyone?
It's only there for creation, for correction. It's only there.
That's beautiful words, Jeff. But I mean, you say, imagine right now you walked into the other room to someone else in the other room there, and you said, "There's no evil in the world."
I would laugh.
It goes against everything that our logical reasoning mind see. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. You go.
It just goes against every single thing that our reasoning, logical, corporeal mind sees. Instantly, when someone says that, you're flooded with all what you say, quote unquote, evil in the world. So a statement like that is absurd unless there's faith above reason, and that the good that only does good, and there is none else beside him. And then your thinking moves to a different frequency. And
Oh, right. Now I'm happy now. Really? Does that make any sense whatsoever? I mean, I understand if somehow you manage to convey to me what Arvut is, and somehow it reminds me of where I'm supposed to be and why the context and everything, that maybe that makes sense. But we do need to make sure that even though our heads are in heaven, that our feet are on the ground. For several reasons. One, we're meant to do that. We were put on this earth for a reason, right? Or in this state that we call earth and this life. And second, we are exposed to other people. And if we sound like we do sometimes, we're not actually promoting anything. On the contrary, we're if someone even had a chance of getting close or waking up their point in the heart, chances are they're hearing this and they're like, oh my God, Kabbalah, what? There's no evil in the world. I haven't seen anything but evil. That's what Rav said in the Congress. I don't remember seeing anything good in this world. Seriously, you live in this world. What else do you see other than suffering and war and pain and because you have every once in a while a moment of of some kind of, it's like you're in this house of torment throughout life, and every once in a while they throw you like a little treat to, you're like, oh, there was those good moments there. Remember that time I was happy that one. Yeah, and yeah, yesterday I smiled for a few minutes, and what was it like last week? Remember that one time I had and that was really good, and all the rest. You're like, really? That's what life is and all that. And yet we go in here and say this, make this big statement. It's like there's no evil in the world. It's a tough one. It's a tough one because I think I'm glad to see that when it was mentioned just now, no one even raised a brow about it. It was like, yeah, there's no evil in the world.
There's
There's nothing else besides him.
It's a bigger picture of evil in relation to everything. You can learn to correct yourself to the Creator, and when you correct yourself, you can see that the evils are corrections. And when you don't have any idea of that, you're below Mahut, you're not going to know any difference. You're just going to know that the world is evil, and it's evil, and there's no corrections to be made. But when you get yourself from double to single, you have a chance to see the difference, and the evil is always going to be with us is there's going to be a paradox between the double concealment and the concealed, which is just looking through with the creator to find corrections through evil, and there'll always be that paradox. And the only thing to do is let the force work to change.
One of the things I found interesting, and this was asked in the Chile Congress, somebody asked him about the snake. I'd never heard that before. And his answer was very interesting because he said, well, the snake is something else. And then he redirected what he said next. So when you're talking about evil, and I think the topic, it kind of was on this very thing I'm hearing you're talking about here. And that's when the person asked him about the snake. Do you have any comments on that, Zohar?
I remember Rob saying about the snake, it's the primordial raw will to receive. It's basically the evil inclination in its most basic fundamental level. That's what the snake is. That's the evil in us. That's what needs to be pulled out and uprooted and destroyed. Each one of us. There were even times where Rav talked about the snake in the form that it's usually a really disgusting joke, and yet Rav used it in the lesson. But he basically said the way you someone asked, how do you get it to come out and get it? And he says, it's like the way you offer it a little something to eat, and every time it pokes its head out, you offer, and then you hit it on the head. It's really that kind of a thing. It's our basic ego, the raw part of our ego, the most animalistic ego in us is so crude, so ruthless, so uncompromising. There's no playing with it. There's basically restriction upon it and rising above it, and like Gary said, faith above reason. Or at some point, killing it. You've heard the statement, and I know I've said it to you before. Don't believe in yourself to the day you die. That's what we mean. We need to kill. You need to kill the snake.
I have a question or a comment. First of all, the word evil. Everybody has, we all think we have a clear definition of what evil is. I don't think we do. At least I don't. I mean, the people that were committing some of the most horrific atrocities that the world has ever known, the ones that were committing them, many of them, felt they were doing a good thing. Nothing evil about that. But the people on the other side thought that this is the essence of evil. Which brings up a very interesting question. How do we know, I don't think we do unless you study Kabbalah or something like that, and then you begin to see it. But the laws of nature function the way they function. Gravity functions. It helps laws of gravity. Airplanes can take off. Everything works fine. Poor little child falls off a cliff because his parents didn't watch him, and then gravity just pulled him down to his death. That's the law of nature that works that way. Is the law of nature evil? No. Kid sticks his finger in an electric light socket, gets electrocuted. Is that evil? It's very complicated. It still is in my mind, and I think it can get a little confusing.
I have a problem with the word evil, and I'll tell you why. Because I go from the source material in Hebrew, and the way we refer to what we call good and evil is tov and ra. Tov in Hebrew is good. That translates pretty good. I mean, there's not a problem with that. Ra, if you were to ask me, I would translate it as bad, like good and bad. It's been translated as evil, and the reason I have a problem with the word evil is If I say something bad versus something good, you see the contrast there, period. Because, you've called your little boy bad at one point because, I don't know, he did something bad. But you wouldn't call your little boy evil. That's there's connotations there, like it's some kind of, I don't know, it's like it brings up pictures in our mind of something else when you talk about evil. It's like on purpose you're doing something bad. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how to create a depiction of what the word evil brings, but often I find that when we say evil, even the word evil inclination, although I think after a while you just get used to, well, that's the will to receive, and that's how you relate to it. You don't relate to it as, something that is, inherently bad because it was created to cause damage and hurt and all that, because you realize that when we talk spirituality, good and evil both come from him. And they're both necessary for correction, for the purpose of creation. They're not good and evil in the way that we think. That in the example that Gary gave here, or the several examples here, well, it could be that in a certain culture, dropping a kid off of a high mountain would be a blessed thing. Wow, you sacrificed to the gods, your son, you're revered as a true believer, a good person. Where we realize in other societies, or even in our hearts, just hearing this right now, it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You took an innocent child and put him to death and all that. Well, good and evil is only in context of whatever culture you're comparing it to, whatever laws you're comparing it to, whatever values you're comparing it to. And who's to say that one value is right, wrong? Look at our world today with all the societies that we have, and it's very interesting to look at, someone who's living, under the umbrella of, ISIS, and someone who's living in Africa, and someone who's living in the States, and someone who's even in the States, you could go to the south or north, this, east, west, and have complete different values about certain things, and call one thing good and another thing bad, and it's the same thing.
Isn't that really concealment? Aren't they just have a double concealment to a degree?
No. What does it have to do with concealment?
Well, because they're a different culture that they're doing things that you would call evil, and because they're a different culture doesn't mean that they aren't committing evil or being bad in certain things when you mutilate things or hurt things as part of your culture, and that's out of concealment from the Creator. Because
they don't know the right from wrong, and you do, or some other culture does.
They are evil. I'm saying that they are different. I say they are in a double concealment. They don't know the Creator. They don't know God. They don't understand what we understand.
So beating a little baby when he was born is evil, and someone who doesn't know that is just in concealment. And if he weren't in concealment,
they don't know better. It's concealed. You do something, you don't know what you're doing.
What if I were wait? Let me just complete this. I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but I hear what you're saying, because in some cultures, and this is not a form of torture. On the contrary, it's been shown that if you take a newborn child that was just born, and you kind of beat him around and shake him and wave it. If you looked at it in North America, and you're like, see this swinging of a little baby that was just born, you'd be like, oh my God. And yet there have been studies that show that it's actually beneficial. It brings oxygen and this and that. And it's not like, I'm not talking about, taking knives and cutting up a baby. I'm talking about, an act which would appear as violent to us and to someone else is actually the most healthy thing you could do for a baby. And it's a ritual that is considered in some cultures as something very healthy. By the way, women have babies underwater. Women have babies in the middle of fields. Women have, it's like one is right and one is wrong because one is in concealment and one isn't. Don't confuse concealment with anything that has to do with this world.
It's not a matter of right and wrong at all. It's has nothing to do with right or wrong, because they are that way. If somebody's in concealment, if somebody has concealment, which we all have in our studies, I think everything's concealed. We're not right or wrong. It's just what is. It just is. I mean, there's things that, there's things behind the attitude. The attitude towards the Creator and towards other things that can stand out. Now, the moving of the baby reminds me of news articles when somebody decided, instead of even the father or related, they shake the baby too much and the baby died. Now there's something else going on besides what is being shown, what's being said. There's something else going on in that man, and something else being shown in another man or another woman, and those things are things we cannot see. So we have to.
Jeff, before we go off on topic completely, Jeff, 1 second. Before we go off topic completely, first of all, incompetence is not concealment. Mistakes are not concealment. Not knowing something is not concealment. Most of you who are parents know very well that the baby didn't come with an instruction manual. You either were lucky. I always looked at this. I have 4 sons, and I'm pretty sure that the reason my kids are so far okay is because I was lucky. That's why. I mean, why else? I mean, I know other parents have had misfortunes. And we're not talking about, there's someone who's got a serious, mental disease, and is got something really wrong in him, is a scratch in his brain that is causing him to do damage to others. That's different. We're not talking about that ever. But children that have had accidents, or parents that have done things, shooken their babies because they were crying so much and they were driving them crazy, and then that, I know that in most of us think of that as, oh my God, how could you do that? What kind of parent are you? Well, every one of us may have accidentally, slapping your child because he did something really bad. I know today you go to jail for it, but most of us grew up with that being very, very acceptable to a certain extent. And people have slapped their kids, and accidentally they slapped them in a way that it caused damage. Or maybe they didn't intend to kill them or to do that, and it happened. We can't do that. But concealment has nothing to do with there's a way to be and a way not to be, and because you don't know the way to be, you're in concealment. We are all in concealment, number one. And what are we in concealment from? From the upper force, from the Creator.
The Creator, yeah, that's my point. So
the Creator is not coming. We're not waiting for him to come and correct us and say, Annie, finally, I have been revealed to you to tell you how you're supposed to talk to other people, and how you're supposed to shake or not shake your baby, or how you should eat, and how you should dress, and how you should, what you should buy and what you shouldn't buy, and how you should live in this world. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with correcting of our soul, and nothing to do with corporeal life. Concealment has nothing to do with this world. In fact, the way Rav describes it and Kabbalists describe it, when you're out of concealment, when you are in revelation, when we're in the end of correction, this world dissipates like a fog. You realize that it's not real.
Is that why Rav says there is no evil in this world? Because it isn't real.
Well, we know that the only thing that the Creator created is evil, right? That's one thing. So the evil inclination, right? The will to receive. But why did he create it, the will to receive? Quick answers. Linda, why did he create the will to receive?
Because he wanted to bestow on the creature, and he needed something to bestow to. So he gave the creature the will to receive, to want what he was giving.
Right. Someone add to that. The will to receive was created so that the Creator could bestow to it. Why couldn't he create it to be good, not to be the opposite of the Creator?
He wanted us to appreciate him even more. He wanted us to realize how great and glorious he is.
More? Others?
We wouldn't know the difference unless there was a contrast.
Independence.
And yet we know we need to reach equivalence of form. We need to reach a state in which we're like him, right? Similar to him. Because of the law of similarity, we have to become like him. So he created the one thing that is opposite him and made us have to do the work to become like him. Evil, the word evil means that there's something bad, that something was created for the wrong reasons. And nothing was created for the wrong reasons. It was all created perfectly for exactly its purpose.
It's disconnection.
All right. The Creator created the perfect system. Right now, we see the system as the world that we live in. I look at the world, I'm like, oh my God, what did you do? Where did you go wrong? Did you get busy all of a sudden when you were building and creating this world? And you forgot to finish the job or something? And believe it or not, this is not an extreme thought or belief. This is something that many people are like, there's no way if the Creator is, there's nothing else besides him and he's good that does good, that he would create this world this way. Unless you realize that this is the perfect setup, the perfect preparation for me to reach exactly where I need to go, the goal. To correct, to independently become a partner to the Creator. By that, I can actually reach a state, we can reach a state where not only do we not see evil in this world, we realize that that so-called evil that he created was there as the perfect mechanism, the perfect system to accomplish the job that needs to be done, to accomplish creation, the purpose of creation.
I think it's hard to see because until we have an experience where we're able to recognize that creation, it's hard to see that he is good who does good. But once you see that which you thought before, you no longer think, or that which you saw, you no longer do, that which you do, you no longer do. And you can have those feelings of love and caring, and then you start to recognize how perfectly it is created. But it's hard to see it before then when you're receiving the blows.
Right. That's the the little child, the little poor baby of yours that you, poor thing, were not taught properly to teach him how to live and just be happy. And you actually let go of him when he didn't even know how to stand and walk, and you let go of his hands and you walked away and so cruelly just left him there to cry and, but you're smarter, you're bigger, you're ahead of him. You knew that by doing that, you're going to teach him how to stand up and how to walk and how to, do all the things that he can do later. That's our life also. I'm looking at it, oh my God, why couldn't he just put the shelves at a height where I can reach so that you can reach? Because if he would have put them at my level, I would never have to reach for anything. I would never grow, I would never develop, I would never need to. And this so-called cruel world, this so-called evil in this world that is there, is all to aim us in a simple direction, to the purpose of creation, to completing his glorious creation, this beautiful thing that he created. I apologize, but I have to go because I am teaching the young group tonight, and those of you who are coming in are going to help with moderation. That's wonderful. And all the rest, I better see you in New Jersey because you know why. And those of you who are still sitting there and saying, yeah, I wish I could go, get over it and find a way. You have no idea what we're about to go through. I mean, Brazil, just to put things in context, Brazil Congress was supposed to be this, beginners Congress for these people who don't really have groups and they don't have tens and they don't watch the lessons and they're this and that. And as this growth from Chile to Brazil, it was the strongest Congress ever yet. Imagine that we still have one more Congress on the way, Guadalajara, and what that's going to be. And what kind of a preparation that's doing for our Congress. I wouldn't miss it for the world. And you don't want to miss it for the world. It's going to be historic. It's going to be something absolutely beyond our wildest imagination. We got to do it. It's time for us to finally, make room for Rav to mold this kli that he's preparing for us to actually move to the next degree. If you are coming and you didn't receive yet a graduation certificate or something like that, please email it and do it tonight, because we're preparing for the graduation ceremony in New Jersey also. And that, plus I wanted to hug you all. Love you very much, Grez. I'll see you later.
Thanks, L'chaim.
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 L'chaim. Shalom.